Let's talk about the lie almost everyone tells themselves. I just don't have the time right now. That sentence sounds reasonable, it sounds mature, it sounds responsible, but most of the time, it's not true. Time isn't what you're missing. What you're missing is the willingness to prioritize discomfort over convenience. Because the reality is this: if something truly matters to you, you will find a way to make time for it. If it doesn't, you will find a reason to delay it. And that reason will always sound logical. Work is busy, life is heavy, energy is low, the timing isn't right, but timing is never right. There is no clean runway in real life. There is only turbulence. And the people who change their lives don't wait for smooth air. They learn to fly through the turbulence. We live in a world where everything competes for your attention. Your phone vibrates, notifications stack up, content never ends. Every app is designed to keep you scrolling. So when you say you don't have time, what you often mean is, I don't have uninterrupted mental space. That's different. Time isn't just hours on a clock, it's cognitive bandwidth. And most people leak that bandwidth all day long. They fragment their focus into tiny pieces. They jump between tasks. They never enter deep work. So even when they technically have time, they feel too scattered to use it well. This creates the illusion of busyness. You feel busy because your mind is tired, not because your day is full of meaningful progress. This is why people can spend 8 hours working and still feel like they made no progress on what actually matters. A lot of modern productivity is theater. It looks productive, it feels productive, it gives you a sense of motion, but it doesn't create meaningful change. Organizing your to-do list feels good. Rewriting your goals feels good. Researching the best way to start feels good. But none of that is execution. Execution is boring. Execution doesn't give you dopamine up front. Execution doesn't make you feel smart. Execution doesn't come with instant validation. Execution feels clumsy. It exposes your inexperience. It puts your ego at risk. So people avoid it and replace it with preparation. Preparation becomes procrastination dressed up as responsibility. Excuses aren't just laziness. They serve a psychological function. They protect your self-image. When you say, I could succeed if I had more time, you preserve the belief that you're capable. You don't have to face the possibility that you might fail. You might be inconsistent. You might not be as disciplined as you want to believe. Excuses allow you to delay confronting your limits. But growth requires confrontation. You don't build confidence by thinking about change. You build confidence by surviving the discomfort of action. Willpower is unreliable. It's affected by sleep, stress, blood sugar, mood, environment. If your plan depends on willpower, it will collapse the moment life applies pressure. Systems don't care how you feel. Systems run on defaults. You don't decide to brush your teeth every day. It's a default behavior. High performers turn execution into defaults. They remove the emotional debate. They don't wake up and ask, should I work on my goals today? They already decided that version of themselves doesn't exist. Goals are outcomes. Identity is who you become in the process. If you only focus on goals, you'll quit when progress feels slow. If you focus on identity, you'll persist, because quitting feels inconsistent with who you are becoming. The shift is subtle but powerful, not I'm trying to work out, but I am someone who trains even when it's inconvenient. Not I'm trying to build something, but I am someone who builds even when the results are small. Identity creates internal pressure. You don't act because you're motivated. You act because not acting would feel like lying to yourself. You don't need perfect days. You need repeatable days. Most people design their lives around convenience and hope discipline fills the gaps. That's backwards. Design your days so that the right actions are the path of least resistance. Put your tools where you can't avoid them. Reduce steps between intention and action. Create friction for distractions. Front-load effort earlier in the day. Your environment should carry some of the weight of your discipline. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start fresh on Monday, you reinforce the belief that consistency is optional. You teach yourself that effort only counts when conditions feel right. But life doesn't operate on weekly resets. Progress is made in imperfect streaks, messy streaks, unimpressive streaks, the kind that don't look good on social media, but compound quietly over time. Most people quit not because something is hard, but because it becomes boring. The early phase of change feels exciting. The middle phase feels repetitive. The late phase feels monotonous. That middle phase is where most people fall off, not because they can't do the work, but because the novelty is gone. Discipline is the ability to stay with something after it stops being exciting. Most people think progress is about big pushes. They wait for the day when they can finally go all in. The day when they'll wake up early, eat perfectly, work out hard, focus deeply, and finally do it right. But that day rarely comes, and when it doesn't, they don't do anything at all. Here's the trap. When your standard for showing up is perfection, the smallest inconvenience becomes a reason to quit for the day. You miss one workout because you're tired. Then you miss the next because you feel like you've already fallen off. Then you tell yourself you'll restart next week. That's how habits die. Not in dramatic moments. In quiet, reasonable decisions, there's a different rule that actually works. On your worst days, you don't aim for progress. You aim for continuity. You protect the habit, not the output. Let me give you a real example. There's a guy I know who decided he was done being out of shape. He'd tried the whole transformation thing before. Meal plans, programs, motivational phases. And every time it collapsed the moment life got heavy. This time, he made one rule: no 0 days. On days he felt good, he trained hard. On days he felt drained, overwhelmed, or mentally checked out, he did 5 minutes. Sometimes that 5 minutes was literally just walking around the block. Sometimes it was push-ups in his living room. Sometimes it was stretching on the floor. It didn't look impressive. It didn't feel like a real workout. But here's what changed. He stopped identifying as someone who falls off. Even on bad days, he still showed up, and that did something subtle to his mind. He stopped seeing consistency as something fragile. He stopped seeing effort as something that required the perfect mood. Over time, 5 minutes became 10, 10 became 20, and eventually training became a default part of his identity. Not because he was disciplined every day, but because he never broke the chain. This is the part people don't like to hear. Your life doesn't change because of your best days. It changes because of how you handle your worst ones. Anyone can execute when they're motivated. The real separator is whether you still show up when you're tired, irritated, distracted, or discouraged. Protect the streak, shrink the task, but don't skip the identity. There's a moment most people experience at some point. It's late at night, you're alone with your thoughts, and you feel that quiet weight of knowing you're capable of more than what you're currently doing. Not in a dramatic way, not with fireworks or breakdowns, just that subtle, uncomfortable awareness. I'm leaving potential on the table, and in that moment, you usually make a promise to yourself. I'll get serious. I'll change this. I won't let another year go by like this. But then the next day shows up. Life is loud. Responsibilities pile up. Energy is lower than it was in that quiet late night moment. And slowly, that promise fades back into the background. Not because you don't care, but because caring isn't enough. Here's the hard truth. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your structure. If your life is structured around convenience, distraction, and comfort, your results will reflect that, no matter how strong your intentions feel in quiet moments. Real change doesn't start with a dramatic overhaul. It starts with a small, almost boring decision. I will show up for this one thing every day, even when it feels unimpressive. That decision isn't sexy, it doesn't make for a viral post, no one applauds it. But over months, it compounds into something dangerous: self-trust. You begin to trust that when you say you'll do something, you actually will. And once you have that, everything changes. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. You stop telling yourself stories about needing more time. You start moving. Slowly at first, but consistently. So no, you don't need more time. You need fewer internal negotiations, fewer justifications, fewer "I'll start when" narratives. You need a system that runs when your emotions don't cooperate. Because the version of you that builds a different life isn't the one who feels inspired at 11 p.m. It's the one who executes at 6 a.m. when inspiration is gone. And that version of you is built one small, repeatable action at a time. If this video made sense to you, don't let it become another thing you agree with and then scroll past. Right now, before you click away, pick one habit you've been delaying, not your entire life. One habit, open your calendar, block 30 minutes for it tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, do the smallest version of that habit, even if you don't feel like it. Not because it's dramatic, but because that's how identity changes. You don't become disciplined by watching videos about discipline. You become disciplined by doing the work when it's inconvenient. And if you want more frameworks like this, not motivation, not hype, but structures you can actually run your life on, subscribe to Grind to Million. This channel is for people who are done starting over and ready to build something that holds under pressure. See you in the next one.